Does it ever feel like you're not where you're supposed to be in life? That you've kind of gone off track and that God is taking you the long ways in life and not cutting through the middle? Today we're going to find out if God takes people the long way and what that actually means. Today on Abundant Life. Stay tuned. One of the most interesting passages in the scripture is right when the Israelites are leaving Egypt. There's this passage that a lot of people will just read over and glaze over. But I want to talk about it today because I think it's super interesting that God actually takes the Israelites the long way out of the city. Because if he doesn't, they'll turn back to Egypt. Let's look at scripture right now. Today we're going to be in Exodus 13, verses 17 and 18. For now when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, even though it was nearer. For God said the people might change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. Hence God led them around by the way of the wilderness and to the Red Sea. And the sons of Israel went up in the Meridian area of the land of Egypt. God actually wants to take Egypt out of you, meaning the things that you used to struggle with before you got saved. He wants to take those things out of your life. And in that, it may feel like you're losing out on opportunities, or that God is not walking with you, or that he's even taking you the wrong way. Because why would you go by the wilderness when you could go down the main road? God is actually doing this so that you can be built up and encouraged. So when you get faced with trials and things later down the road, you are more likely to succeed because God has grown your faith so much so that you're able to stand strong in the things that God has called you to later on, because he's building your faith continually. Now, in your life, God will challenge you in ways and lead you in ways that are stretching to you. The Israelites got led to the sea, which would have been, in most areas, would have been the worst place if an army was chasing you. But because they got led by the wilderness and not the main road, they got pushed to the sea. And when pushed to the sea, God did the miraculous of splitting the Red Sea so the Israelites could walk through. In your life, God is going to take the things of weakness and turn them into strength. God is going to use those things that you struggle with today, but 20 years from now, God is going to use it as a miracle. Or 10 years from now, God's going to use it as a miracle. Don't let your faith be shaken when you're in the wilderness. One of the best stories I can think of how God took me the long way about and then ended up having miracles come through that, is when I actually moved to Seattle. When I was about 18, 19, I went to the Honor Academy. And during that time, they said, you got to be praying for your future. You got to be asking God where he's going to take you. And I spent some time that year praying about where I was going to be going. And God gave me the words, Seattle. And I was like, sweet God, I'm going to move to Seattle as soon as I get done with this 1-year internship. Like, it will be great. And then the Lord told me, no, wait, go back home. And I was like, God, I don't want to go back home. Like, my Teton Valley is a sinkhole of where you get in there and you get stuck. And a lot of people do. But God called me to go back home, so I went back home. And next thing I know, a couple weeks after I had gotten back home from the Honor Academy, my pastor came up to me and asked if I would be interested in a leadership internship at the church. And I was like, maybe, but like I want to be in Seattle. But I felt like the Lord wanted me to go into that leadership thing. And so I went into this leadership thing that taught me every side of church. The ministry side, the hardship time, and also just like the practical side of ministry. And in that, God really opened my heart to things that I could do. But during that time, I kept praying, be like, God, let me go to Seattle. I know you called me to Seattle. I know you called me to Seattle. And I ended up finally, after 3 years of waiting, felt like the longest time, taking the long road around. God finally opened the door for me to be able to move to Seattle. He gave me the finances to pay for an apartment, first, last deposit. He gave me stuff. So I moved up. God said move. I moved up without a job, without a house. And God provided both of those things within within a week of me being there. The house was right away. And the thing is, but in that time, I was able to go learn a lot about ministry and learn about what God wanted to do in churches and what God wanted to do in my life. And then the other things that lined up is the pastors that we serve under here in Seattle wouldn't have been there if I would have moved right away. And the leadership and the friendships that I've learned from the church that I've been attending here in Seattle has grown me way more by waiting those 3 years and having everybody in place and having the leadership team of our church that could pour into me and stuff here in Seattle is way better than it would have been if I would have just moved as soon as God said Seattle. So in your life, make sure that God, when He calls you, that the timing is right on it as well. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He shine His face on you, and may you walk with Him all the days of your life.